As you might have noticed, Playgrounds in Xcode is just great for trying out different kinds of solutions and problems. And especially in mathematics, I think it's just great. To be able to do some kind of material for your students, I would recommend to use the markup language in Playgrounds. So that is basically what I'm going to tell you a bit about. You can create rich lab files in Xcode Playgrounds. You can add text, images and movies, example code, links between pages, etc. And here you can see a screen dump of one of those things that I've done. And actually we're going to do kind of like this thing in the exercise, where I've added to my example file a page that is about markup in Playgrounds. So here I've added some example code and some text and actually a movie. To be able to use all of this, I've added some resources, and it's really easy. You just drag stuff into the folder called resources and you use these names. So it's really easy to do that. So okay, and you probably, or you definitely will need this address. So it's a short address, not really short, but anyway, to where you can actually find all of these codes that you need. And it's a bit like really simple HTML. I think we should just have a quick peek into that page so that you get the hang of it. So just a sec. Okay, so when you get into this page, it's an Apple page, obviously. This is what will meet you. So it's an overview of how it works, and we'll talk a bit about this, how to do these kind of pages, how to use the really simple code to get from basically this kind of look and feel to this. So as you can understand, when you do some kind of lab kit for students, it's a bit more nice to have this kind of look instead of this normal commented kind of look. So when you do markup, normally you start, it looks a bit like normal, like you can see here. It starts out with 2 slashes, but then you have a colon and a space, and that is the thing. Everything you put after that will be like text, and in this case it's a special kind of text. It's a link to the next playground. That's just one line, but we'll look into how it could look if you use not just single line but multiple lines. So you have over here, you have single line comment, and that is that one, and you have block comments. So it's basically the same as you would do when you just do normal comments, apart from the fact that you add a colon and a space. So that is basically the only difference. So this will be rendered as text. Of course, you can also format text a bit. So you can see you have headings, heading 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 3 hashtags. And then you have also a possibility to add horizontal rulers, where you actually have like this. This text is above the horizontal ruler, and then you have just 3 hyphens, and then you have text below. It will look like this. And it goes on about how to use the codes. So this is really a good reference page when you work with this. You'll probably learn this really fast because it's quite simple. Let's go back to the presentation. The basic idea right now is that you should, in the playground that you've been working in before and the other exercises, just create a new page in the playground that contains exercise 6, so because we're going to use that a bit. Then you could copy paste the code from exercise 6 into the new page, and then on the new page the basic idea is that you should create kind of like a lab kit aimed at your students, where you use the markup language to add the following: some text with some integrated example code, image or movie, you can use both, blocks of example code, and also link to the old page or some other page. Really easy to actually add links from one page to another. It's only one little tweak that you need to know, but it's kind of simple. Try this out yourself. If you feel a bit unsure about this, please just hang along for a while, I'll explain how to do this. Let's go into Xcode and look at my example. So this is the thing I've done. So it looks kind of not too fancy, but I mean, it's like the idea basically is to do it like a math lab that uses function loops and conditions to do a function that checks divisibility. I think you remember from the previous exercises. So here you have some code. I need to import foundation. Can't live without that, basically. And then you have some text, and you have a dotted list, and then you have some more text. And actually, if you look really thorough, this is actually really rendered the way code is rendered. In a minute, you'll see how that looks. And then you have this kind of example block with code that is really rendered as genuine code. Okay, and it goes on with some more text, and then all of a sudden we have a movie. So that's really great. You can add pictures, and that's great, but also you can add some small tutorial movies right into the playground, which is just great for when you want to instruct students how to do things. Then some more code block, and more dotted list, and some more code, and then I have like this. Now it's time to try it yourself. And I've added a few lines where actually the students can do their own stuff. And here you have to think about things a bit yourself. Right here, I've actually added a solution a bit further down the page, but you could also just make another page in your playground and have them try it out on this page and then go to the next page, look at the solution. That is basically up to you what you want to. But here I've actually a bit lower down, I've added the solution, and I say below you can find the solution that works actually. And here's the function that we've been talking about before. And I've also added a line where I'm actually calling the function. I've commented away it so it doesn't really print anything, but actually if I want to, I can take that away. And of course, because it's live code, it will run. Put those back. In the end, I have the links to the other pages. So actually I have like a menu for the other pages. Okay, so that is the basic thing I've done. So let's just have a quick peek behind the curtain then. So I'll just go up and find the editor menu and go down and pick this one, show raw markup, because that is like toggle on, toggle off the rendering. So if I do that, everything turns green basically. At the top you have this line, which is like a special link for the previous page. You have a similar one that says next. So actually this is the text that will be shown, and this is the actual link for previous, and you can also use next, of course. You can see here you have the kind of comment code starts // space. You have to have the space in between, otherwise it won't work. So these are just single lines with some comments. And here you have 2 hash marks, which means this will be a header of level 2. And so this is the main header on this page. I think the topmost level of headers are a bit too big. So normally I use level 2 and level 3. And then I have like a subtitle here with MATLAB. So, and then you have to have the import foundation or import UI kit, depending on if you're using Mac or iOS like a base. And then starts the kind of real text block. And I start it with the normal comment thing and add a colon after that. And then it's just normal text, you know, it's like you can see here. And then to get the dotted list here, function loops condition, just a sec, I'll show you. This dotted list here. To get that, I'll go back. I'll just add a hyphen. It works with the star also, but you have to be thorough to make it the same. If you want to have like a numbered list instead, it's like this, and you don't actually need to bother about what numbers you put here, as long as it's a number. So if I would have said like 111, that would have worked. So this will actually show up as numbered lists like this. So let's change that back into hyphens. So I go on and I'm writing a bit, and then you have, all of a sudden, you have these special signs. You'll find them on your keyboard. Actually, if you write one of these before and just after some text, that will be rendered as code. So we'll just have a quick peek on that. So this text is actually rendered quite different from the other text. It's rendered as actual code. And that's good, because that is a good way to make the code stand out in the running text. So that's one thing, one way of doing it. But if you want to have like a full block of text, full block of code rendered as code, you just start with 4 of those signs and end with 4 of those signs, and everything that will be in the middle will be rendered as code. So that would be kind of like, yeah, like this. And it will also add this vertical gray bar, and it will say example, so that it's really obvious that this is not really live code. It's more like an example of how code could look, because if I would have written this in real code, I would have gotten lots and lots of error messages. But this is so that you can tell the students how the code actually is built up. So let's go back. And you might remember that the next thing that we have is this video. Highlight the video block for you. So it is really simple. You just start out with an exclamation mark and then a bracket, and then the text that comes next is basically the hover text, alternative text that will be shown if you just put your mouse on top of the movie, explaining what it is. And then you have a normal end of bracket, of course, and then you have start of new parenthesis, normal parenthesis, and then you write down the name of the movie. And to be able to get this to work, you have to actually make a movie and drag it into this resources folder over here. And that goes also for kind of images that you need to have. Actually, it is enough with just a name. You could end there, but if you want to be really sure about the look and feel of stuff when it comes to videos, you could also add a poster image, which is basically the image that will be shown when the movie is not playing. That is good to have, because normally otherwise the movie will be like just a black square, which is not too nice to look at. You don't need to do this, but it's a good way of doing it. Also, it's good practice to actually tell how big the movie should be. Because the format of these files, you shouldn't make the movies too big. So normally you should think about that when you record movies, that they are supposed to be looked upon in kind of a small square. Well, it just goes on and on then. So you could add pictures, you can add movies, you can add blocks of code, and yeah, that's it. And down here I've said like, now it's time to try this yourself, etc. And then I add horizontal bar, and that's really easy to do inside this kind of comment block. Just 3 hyphens like this. And then it ends. I mean, this text block ends. And then you have a few lines of space where you can add, the students can add some code. And then you have a new block of text, and that's actually me saying, well, this is the solution kind of stuff. And here you can also see that I've been using the code for getting this bold. It's 2 stars. If you just want to make it italic, use 1 star before and after the text block that you want to be rendered like italic or bold. And that's it basically. In the end, right down here, I have like a menu, and that is actually just like links to other pages. I think it's good practice if you have lots of pages to actually have at the bottom some kind of like a menu or something so that it's easy to go between pages, because not everyone uses this navigator, and then it could be quite nice to have this. The way to do this is kind of easy. You just look at the name over here. So for instance, the first name, variables and constants. So you just do a bracket and you put in the name and the end of bracket, and this is the piece of text that will be shown. And then you have a normal parenthesis, and then you have the name again. And this is actually the name of the page. You might observe the fact that you have this kind of strange thing, %20. If you've been doing a bit work with web pages, you know what this means. It means a space. To be able to get the links to actually work, if you have a space in the name, you have to add %20 for every space in this line of text, because this is actually a link to that page. So this is actually the way it looks then. So show rendered markup, and here you have the list, and these are actually active links. So I can go to variables, and I could go down, and well, obviously I've entered the menu on every page, so I get back here. Yeah. About the movie, just short, because I added this text, it shows up when I put the mouse on top, and that's good because it explains a bit about what this is. And also I added this poster frame. If I hadn't done that, this would have been all black. If I want to watch this, I just push the button. Here you should use your code from exercise 3, and you can pause it. And a great feature actually is that you can use your trackpad or your mouse to actually just scroll through the movie. That's quite nice actually. You can't, I think at least, you can't get this full screen. So like I said, think about that when you do your tutorial in movies, because they have to be quite big and, I mean, readable. The code is quite good here, but as you can see, the text on the side here isn't big enough actually. But anyway, I think this is a really good feature to be able to actually put some instructional movies into your playground. It's really easy. Instead of writing everything down, just put in the movie and give the instructions. I think that's really, really great. So once again, I think this is a great feature, and to really get the hang of all the codes, when you start out with this, I would say it's good practice to have this web page somewhere quite close by. If I were you, I would bookmark it, and the link for getting there, if you've forgotten it, was this. It's a link I've made, bit.ly/playground-markup. So that's it basically. Good luck.